Good evening. My name is Gavin Carr. I'm a member of the boys soccer and basketball teams. At this time, it is my honor to welcome Mike Jeffrey to the podium as he introduces David Gregory.
Good evening. It is with great pleasure that I am here to introduce you to David Gregory, the first male soccer player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I have to say that because 2 females have been inducted into the Soccer Hall of Fame. So David is the first male to be selected. I want to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for choosing David, as he is clearly Brewer's most decorated and outstanding soccer player. Since I'm a history teacher, you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to give you a little history. In 1985, some of you probably remember that, I came to Brewer as a history teacher and a soccer coach, and I was instructed to start a club. Over 40 boys responded to the announcement, and 20 girls responded to the announcement to meet my room to organize, get the paperwork done, and all of that items. We had a practice field on the Washington Street Little League field. We had 30 balls in 1 ball bag, 1 goal, and 60 players some days. The club had 3 matches against JV teams. The following year, Brewer became the first school in the state of Maine to offer varsity soccer for both girls and boys. The team's first victory came at Sumner. The year ended with 3 victories, but no playoff invitation. That all changed in 1989. 2 young men came to Brewer. Some of you will remember one named Oliver with an unpronounceable last name, Gartenbroker, and the other named David arrived from Texas. Both had an immediate impact on the level of soccer, and I suddenly became a very good coach. Oliver played 2 years. He actually came back as a senior, a real student, I guess you would have to say. He scored 36 goals over 2 years, which is still a Brewer record. His scoring prowess made us an immediate playoff team. And David, thankfully, played all 4 years. Became your 8th grade year, right? Got that right. You know, it's funny how the mind works. Over the years, I've always thought David came from Florida. And I was talking with his mother this evening, and I was suddenly corrected that it wasn't Florida, it was Texas. And I'm very glad he came. During his freshman year, he made the varsity and saw significant playing time on a senior-laden team in the midfield. Our first ever playoff game was a loss at #1 seed Waterville. As noted earlier, David did not grow up in Brewer. From a soccer point of view, that was actually a good thing. Anyone know why? Brewer had no feeder system. So the closest you got to playing soccer in Brewer at that time as a young kid was that little bee swarming thing that happens on the Brewer rec field on Saturday mornings. There was no travel, there was no Brewer soccer club, which there is now, and I think players are benefiting from that. his family moved to Brewer during his 8th grade year, as I said, we did not have a feeder system. So David, when he arrived, had already played a lot of soccer, and he was ahead of his teammates when it came to individual skill and knowledge of the game. And from the first time I saw David, he had something that a lot of you probably had in high school, that everybody hopes they have in high school, called dazzling quickness and amazing speed. That makes you a good athlete in any sport if you learn the skill set. David, along with the likes of Jason Reynolds, who was an all-state goalkeeper, Darren Beers, Brian Coleman, Ben and Chris Rader, and Tom Coleman, led Brewer through their Cinderella experience in 1991. This was the most notable team and probably the thing I remember the most. Brewer entered the MPA playoffs, seeded 6, and had to face Bangor. We always have to face Bangor, don't we? Seeded 3rd. And I can remember being in the teacher's room, and a fellow teacher once said to me, you know, it really doesn't matter how many games you win this season, as long as you beat Bangor. Then they'll keep you for the next year. With the score tied 0-0 and time running out, David, who was a sweeper back for us, I tended to bill from the back. I took my best athletes and played them in the back and tried to keep the other team from scoring. David made a long run out of the back of the middle of the field. As he passed the last defender, he and I figured out who that was tonight, didn't we, David? The defender grabbed his shirt, nearly pulled it off, trying to stop him from scoring. Brewer was awarded a penalty kick with 33 seconds left in the game. In this big pivotal moment, in the game, David calmly placed a penalty shot on the ground in the side netting to win the game. That meant we had another playoff game. We traveled to Morse and won 3-2 over a higher seed. Next was number 2 seed Mount Ararat. We had to travel down to Topsom. We were outshot 27-3. Guess what the score was? We won 3-2. There's an interesting little sidelight to that. The games at that time, because of early darkness, you know about that, started at 2. So we started the game before school let out. So we're playing the game, and they let the school out, and somebody must have set this up. They had the whole student body come down to the soccer field and cheer them. And our guys were just like, what is this? But we were totally outplayed, but David's defensive prowess, along with Jason Reynolds, played an outstanding game. And even though we were dominated in that game, a lot of people say soccer is a cruel game. You can dominate a team for 90 minutes or 80 in high school and still lose the game. And Mount Ararat still talks about that game. Their coach does anyways. That one placed Brewer into his first ever Eastern Maine Class A final, and at those times, if you wanted to get to a state final, you had to go through Brunswick. That was just a reality. A lot of people claim Brunswick really wasn't in Eastern Maine. They were Southern Maine or Western Maine, but that's how it was done. And to be honest with you, they had a wonderful team. They had 4 Wazinski brothers that were all All-Americans, and they had an incredible coach, Peter Gardner, and they made a lot state championships. Though we ultimately lost to Brunswick, that unexpected run in the playoffs was definitely a high point in Brewers soccer history. Much of it had to do with the defensive abilities and the skill of David Gregory. He simply rarely got beat, and even when other teams such as Mount Ararat were placing constant offensive pressure and totally dominating the game, we wouldn't help him. David is Brewers' most decorated soccer player. For his final 3 years, he was selected to the Penobscot Valley Conference Class A All-Star team. His junior and senior years, he was selected to the Maine Soccer Coaches Eastern Maine Class A Regional All-Star and the Eastern Maine State Team. And finally, the ultimate award, well, almost. The Maine Soccer Coaches selected David as an All-New England player, an award that was given to only 6 players in the state. He was also the first soccer player from Brewer to attend the Maine Soccer Coaches Annual Senior Bowl in 1992. After high school, David continued his soccer playing career at the University of Maine under Coach Jim Dyer. This made him only one of 3 soccer players to play at a Division I school, the other 2 being that kid from Germany, Oliver Gartenbroker, and Jason Reynolds, who also played at Maine. Finally, and this kind of is something I really enjoyed, David also furthered his soccer skills over 7 summers on my Absolute Soccer men's team. Why wouldn't I have him? He played in the Central Maine Summer Soccer League. During that time, Absolute Soccer won 7 straight division titles and 4 league championships. As you can see, in closing, David's bio, from his bio, he did not specialize in just soccer. One could make an argument that David Gregory is one of the top athletes to play sports in Brewer history, as he was also an all-state baseball player and a championship-winning sprinter in indoor track. I present to you the first male soccer player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, David Gregory.
So, let me start by saying how honored I am to join these 5 people across country and indoor track teams as part of the class of 2018 Hall of Fame. It's also a real privilege. I couldn't have been more excited when I saw the list, when I saw my fellow teammate Darren Beers here as well. I think it's been 22, 23, 24 years since we've seen each other. We played baseball, we played soccer together. It's great to see you, buddy. Congrats. I'm also humbled to be included with the current members of the Hall of Fame. Every year I look at the roster of who's inducted and I'm just blown away. Absolutely blown away that now I am a part of this incredible group in the Brewer Hall of Fame. I've got some thank yous here. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee, Brewer High School, Mr. Utterback, Paul Susi, my liaison, and everybody here. I don't know, who all to thank, but thank you for putting this together. It's been an incredible night. I want to recognize some family who are here. My nephews, Jacob and Finn, my niece, Keely, and also my sister, who suddenly couldn't be here tonight. She's a Brewer High alumni as well. And I really wish she was here because she was a really good soccer player too. And unfortunately, she's younger than me, and she was known for her entire soccer career as Dave's brother. So she hasn't let me, I haven't lived that one down, it's not my fault. But whenever she was mentioned, it was never by Amy Gregory, it was Dave's brother. Sorry, Dave's sister, thank you. That's my humor tonight, unintentional. I want to thank my mom, for all the support. She never missed a game. Traveled all around Maine, Canada. Honestly, never missed a game. Couldn't have done it without her and her support, as well as my dad, who we lost a couple of years ago. But I know he'd be proud if he was here. And he was at every game that he could make as well. He was a pilot, so he missed some, but he traveled as well. Didn't miss a game when he could. Sorry, as I'm catching up here. Let me just say that kind of my favorite part of this process is the reconnection that's happened with Brewer High School and the community of Brewer. You see, I graduated from the University of Maine, as Mike said, where I played soccer, and then I wanted to go skiing for a year. So I moved to Colorado. And I didn't know I was going to stay there, and I stayed there. I found a great place to live. If I had to live outside of Maine, Colorado was going to be the place. That was 22 years ago, and my parents have retired down in Florida. My sister still lives in Bar Harbor, but it just over time, I just felt like I had just kind of lost my connection here. Nothing intentional, it just kind of happened. And being a part of this process, reconnecting with a lot of the faces in this room, like I'm looking at Mr. Goss right now. My principal, so good to see him. My name is Mr. Potro. I'll stop right now, I won't stop. So this has just been such an incredible experience. Thank you for that. Speaking of being back and connecting, I had some former teammates in the room. I just wanted to recognize and thank them for being here. Ryan Susi, Jason Hoare, Tom Coleman. Thanks for being here, guys. It's good to see you. And I was lucky to have three coaches for my 4 years in high school here. I played soccer, indoor track, and baseball. And they were instrumental in my high school career and in my development as I became an adult. Rich Kimball, who I don't believe is here, right? So I don't have to say anything nice about him. He was my 4-year baseball coach. It was so much fun playing for him. We had a lot of success, and it was always fun running out there on the field for him. Now I can say my fellow Hall of Fame member, David Jeffrey. Someone told me my freshman year that I'd be a better soccer player if I ran track. And so I didn't know whether I was going to play basketball or track, so I chose track. I think it was Mike that told me that. So family recruiting there. And I think it was the second, maybe, I can't remember now, but maybe my second practice. I think he ran me, Dave Jeffrey did, till I just about threw up. And I was like, what am I doing here? Why am I not playing basketball? But that was one of the best decisions of my high school career. I learned a lot, Dave, from you, just about how you created such a positive culture and sense of belonging during my 4 years there. So thank you for that. And then Mr. Mike Jeffrey, who, I wouldn't be here without. I know he gave me a lot of credit for his success, but that's not true. I can say the facts are that, you know, he has 3 boys. Jay, who was an All-American soccer player. Ryan, who was an All-New England soccer player. And then they have a son, Kyle, who won a state championship. So I think the common variable here is Mike. So, Mike invested in his players and inspired all of us to do our best. Yeah, we were skilled. I mean, I'm not going to say we weren't skilled, but we were never as skilled as some of the other Southern Maine teams. And he put us together, he inspired us, he made us better, and it was a pleasure to play with him. Put together a hell of a team over 4 years. And I gotta say, I often look back and, you know, my 44 years of age and think about my old, you know, high school playing days, and I had a lot of good memories, but man, I wish I could just go back and play for Mike and my teammates again. And I'll say, you know, lucky enough to, you know, spend some time playing in Europe, traveling around with the Maine state team into Canada, traveled with the University of Maine Black Bear soccer team, and I can honestly say I never had as much fun playing soccer as I did with Mike and my teammates. So thanks. So I guess in closing, I don't know really how I'm going to wrap this up. All I want to tell you is the feeling I had when I was flying in. It's kind of cool, you know, you fly in from the east, and you know your first landmark is like the Lucerne Inn. You know, you look out the right side of the airplane, and then all of a sudden, you know, I saw Brewer. I saw where 395 ended on the east side, and then I saw my old neighborhood, and then we flew over the new. I still call it Pendleton. I know it's not Pendleton Street anymore. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm dating myself here. But there was a soccer game going on that soccer field, and just like, gosh, just the closer and closer I got, like, just the happier, and it was such a cool feeling. I'll just leave it at that. You know, it's just coming home. You know, I'm very proud to live in Colorado and say I'm from Brewer, Maine. And in closing, I just want to congratulate the current program, the current athletes that are in their room. Holy cow, man, you guys are doing awesome. I think it sounds like there's going to be several of you standing up here in a few years as well, so keep it up. All right, and thank you again. Appreciate it.